Raghunathan Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sapadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shakan Bitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshat Kalpatarubhyascha Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We sincerely and very joyfully welcome everyone to Sri Radha Gopinath Temple on this very holy and special occasion of Gaur Purnima, the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We were singing this beautiful song by Srila Lochan Das Thakur, who is a disciple of Narahari Sarakar, who was one of the very personal, loving associates of Lord Chaitanya. The compositions of these enlightened beings is not like the authors and writers of beautiful literature of this world, because they have surrendered their lives, their hearts in the loving service of the Lord, and have gained the respect of other enlightened beings for their spotless and pure character. And because they have received their information from self-realized, pure devotees of the Lord in disciplic succession or parampara, therefore, it is not their writing. We read Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. He says again and again, it is not me writing. It is Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda writing through me. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying same thing. As long as one has even a spot of ahankar or false ego, one cannot be transparent to reveal the glories of the Lord. But when one is without selfish motivation, when one's devotion is unconditional, unmotivated, then it is Krishna himself through the great acharyas of Parampara that could manifest through the words of such great souls. There has been millions of poems, songs, literatures written about God, about Krishna, about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why is it that our acharyas over the centuries have especially focused on just a few? Narottam Das Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, Lochan Das Thakur. Because the content of what they write is perfectly in harmony with Siddhanta, with the essence and the conclusions of the great scriptures and the saints that have preserved it. And because their lives were so perfectly exemplary. This song does not end with Lochan Das Thakur saying, I know the Sanskrit and Bengali language very well. I'm an expert poet. And I love Krishna. Follow me. He's saying just the opposite. He's saying that he regrets that he's entrapped by selfish desires. And he has no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Nityananda. And Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. That's why everybody follows him. Because he's transparent. Yesterday we were hearing Rupa and Sanatan Goswami when they approached the Lord. They were revealing their hearts that they were the most low and fallen of everyone. They had no qualification and no right to even approach the Lord in their abominable condition. But because he was supremely merciful and he had descended into this world to deliver the most merciful, they had nowhere else and no one else to turn to. They were pleading for mercy. Not that they felt that they deserved it. When you think you deserve something, it's not really mercy when it comes to you. For mercy to actually be understood and realized, it's according to the degree that we're humble and we feel that we're unqualified. Well, this is a trap of the illusion of Maya. Is even while practicing devotional service, we think in terms of what I deserve. Why I'm not getting this? Why devotees don't give me this? Why Krishna doesn't give me what I want? After all I've done, and what I'm doing, and who I am, that type of consciousness, even if Krishna does give you mercy, you can't recognize it. You see it as something material. Because mercy can only truly be recognized by a humble heart. We can easily say, this is Krishna's mercy. But do we really believe it? Do we really appreciate it? If we had even a glimpse of realization of Krishna's mercy on us, our hearts would melt in ecstasy. Krishna's Karuna Sindhu. He's an unlimited ocean of mercy. Even a drop from that ocean of Krishna's mercy can cleanse and liberate the entire cosmic manifestation. That means all the worlds and all the universes in all of existence. That's the power of a drop of Krishna's mercy. And Krishna possesses an ocean of mercy. That ocean has no shores and has no bottom. It's infinite. It's inconceivable. Can you think of an ocean that's infinite? That means it never ends. You can go down in that ocean trillions of miles and never find a bottom. And even a single drop can drown the entire cosmos in ecstatic love. So when we say this is Krishna's mercy, it may be a little intellectual and theoretical, and we may have some realization, but if we really appreciate even a drop of mercy, what will happen to us? We read in these wonderful leelas or pastimes incredible things happening. Just like Jagai and Madhai. Even Yamaraj, with an entire department dedicated to keeping the karmic records of Jagai and Madhai. The whole staff was overworked, constantly doing overtime, and they couldn't keep track with the immoral activities of these people. They murdered, they raped, they burned houses, they plundered, they were intoxicated always. But we read how in just a matter of minutes, by humbling themselves and vowing never to do these things again, and just chanting the names of the Lord, they were cleansed of all of their illusions and they attained ecstatic prema. Love of God, the crest jewel of all goals in life. How is it possible? We're nothing compared to Jagai and Madhai as far as what we've done wrong. And we've been chanting for years. Why? Why I'm not pure? We read about that little tailor, laundry person who happened to be walking down the street and he saw Lord Chaitanya. And just by seeing him, he chanted Lord Chaitanya's name and attained perfection. And there are so many stories like this. And many of us really enjoy reading them. And all the benedictions that come with these stories are incredible. One who just hears it is delivered forever from all ego and gets infinite love for Krishna. Yes, almost every story has benedictions like this coming with it. So sometimes we may think, is it for real? Because I don't feel that way. And not only that, I see other devotees who may have been chanting Hare Krishna, chanting mantras, doing seva for so many years. And yet it seems they have chronic anarthas. They're still egoistic. They're still so inclined to talk about all the great things that they've done, and they're so demanding that we appreciate, we glorify. In others, it seems like they're kind of psychologically deranged. And yet they're devotees. They've been chanting so long. Others, so many years, and they're still so inclined that they fall down to break the regulative principles, which even a new devotee is able to follow. How is this? Is it that the process really doesn't work? It only works for people who are already liberated before they came? Is just this fanciful literature that is so grandiose that it's unbelievable, and we don't see it happening? How is it that people who accept a spiritual master, even someone like Srila Prabhupada, and who, apparently have done service for some years and have done sadhana, that we trust them less than we do just the average person walking down the street, for good reasons. Unless we understand how Krishna consciousness actually works, we could become bewildered. We could lose our faith. Lochan Das Thakur, he tells us in the second verse of this song, "My dear brothers, sisters also, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his selfish tendencies. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Hare without any motive." Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Ras Vigraha. That the name of Krishna is none different than Krishna. Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna has descended into this world in the form of the holy name. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtana. The holy name is not just a combination of letters from the alphabet. This Maha Mantra has descended from the highest place in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. And our acharyas teach us from the scriptures that the Lord's eternal, all blissful form, qualities, pastimes, abode, and relationships with devotees are all within Hare Krishna, these words. And all of this will be revealed if we just chant in this state of mind, without motivations. It says in the scripture, Aho bata swapacho togariyam yajjivagre vartate namatubhyam, that even if one is born in the lowest, most sinful type of family, the Chandala, if one sincerely chants the holy names of the Lord, one attains the ultimate perfection and can make the whole world his or her disciples. But if one does not chant the holy name in such a spirit, even if one is born in a Brahmin family and follows all the 25 duties of a Brahmin, cannot even deliver themselves, what to speak of anyone else. So yes, this Harinam Kirtan is all powerful. But it's already there in the scripture. We can read it. Why did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come to this world? He came along with his devotees to demonstrate the character, the qualities of how we're supposed to chant the holy names to attain this perfection. Srila Prabhupada explained that Krishna, 5,000 years ago, just at the end time of the Dwapar Yuga, he appeared. It's very rare that the Lord personally appears from the spiritual world. There are Yuga avatars that come every Yuga, specifically to teach the recommended process for that age of how to become purified. But Krishna in his original form from Goloka comes to perform his eternal pastimes in this world once in a day of Brahma. What is a day of Brahma? The 4 yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga, a whole cycle of them is one Divya Yuga. 71 Divya Yugas equals 1 Manu. There are 14 Manus. So by calculation, once every 4,320,000,000 years, Krishna comes in his original form. And he comes during the 28th Divya Yuga of Vaivashvata Manu, and in the following Kali Yuga, once in a day of Brahma, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in his original form. Why? Krishna culminates the Bhagavad Gita with surrender. Always think of me. All the rules and all the regulations of all the scriptures and all the world throughout history are ultimately meant to bring us to following 2 principles. To always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastam gatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhaya vyantara suchi. Because Krishna is all pure, supremely pure. And whatever comes in contact with Krishna becomes purified. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Sravanadi Sudichiti Kodiyayudoi. Love of Krishna is within the heart of everyone. The eternal soul, the jiva, is part of Krishna. We are expansions of Krishna. Like a sun ray is qualitatively one with the sun, simultaneously one with the sun in quality and simultaneously different than the sun. Even though the sun is emanating unlimited sun rays, the sun still remains separate. The sun is not just the conglomeration of sun rays. It's the source of sun rays. Similarly, every living being is part of Krishna. But it's not that Krishna is just the composite of all jivas. Radha, Krishna are forever their own eternal identity, performing eternal pastimes in the eternal world. And yet from them they expand all the unlimited living beings in all the universes, in all material and spiritual worlds. And Krishna, by his inconceivable potencies, he's all-pervading. He's all-pervading in many ways. As Brahman, or the Brahma Jyoti, the divine light that expands everywhere. It has no end. Our little brains cannot conceive, really, of something that doesn't have an end. How could something never end? This Brahma Jyoti, it's everywhere, forever. Not within something, but within, without. It's inconceivable. And that's the energy of Krishna. The light of Krishna that pervades everything, everywhere, forever, and is fully conscious. Now, within the cosmic manifestation, Krishna takes the form of Paramatma, where he's within the heart of every living being and knows every word, every action, every thought, and remembers everything you've ever done. Never forgets. The Paramatma is in the mosquito that comes to bite you. He's in the ant, even the termite that's eating your house away. He's in the elephant. He's in the little germ that may cause you to get some sickness. Wherever there's life, Paramatma is there as the neutral witness. And besides the Paramatma being in the heart of every single living being, every blade of grass, the Paramatma is situating in and between every atom. Everywhere. In this way, Krishna, in so many ways, is all-pervading. And yet, that one absolute truth, Parabrahman, is performing loving pastimes with devotees in the spiritual world. For those who want mukti, cessation of all material desires, cessation of the false ego, just eternal impersonal state of peace, the Lord provides and allows the jiva to reside within the Brahma Jyoti and apparently become one with God. And for those who have love, who want to have a personal relationship of ecstatic, dynamic service to the Lord, there are so many spiritual planets called Vaikunthas. And the Lord, the one supreme truth, can manifest in so many forms. This doesn't mean there's many gods. It means God really is great. Some people who don't really understand the Siddhanta of the Vedas, they hear that there's Ram and there's Vamana and there's Narasimha and there's Varaha and there's Narayan, Vishnu, Krishna in Dwarka, Krishna in Vrindavan. How many gods can there be? And then there's so many demigods who are sometimes kind of treated like gods. There's only one God. The Vedas, the Vedic literatures are very adamant about this. There's one supreme truth. But that supreme truth is unlimited. And that supreme truth can do what we cannot do. Even when Krishna was on this world, when each gopi wanted to dance with Krishna, and there were thousands of gopis, it wasn't like in this world if someone wanted to dance with thousands of ladies, he would have his date book and give her an appointment. I'll dance with you in 3 weeks at this time. Krishna expanded himself to be with each gopi simultaneously. And it wasn't that they were different Krishnas. It was the same Krishna in thousands of forms. When Narada Muni went to Dwarka, he wanted to see what Krishna was doing. There were 16,108 palaces with 16,108 queens, and he went palace after palace after palace. And it wasn't like some yogis. They can expand themselves. But when they expand themselves, each expansion is doing exactly the same thing. Yes. Through mystic cities, you can expand. But if you go like this, all your expansions go like that. If you go like this, everyone's going like that. But he saw in one place, Krishna's playing chess. In another place, he was playing with his grandchildren. In another place, he was laughing with his wife. In another place, he was having a meeting with Uddhava. Narada never see anything. This is a great frailty of philosophers and even religionists of this world, is we try to understand the absolute truth according to our relative conceptions of who we are and who other people in this world are. My eyes can't see beyond this room. And even the greatest scientists with the best telescopes can't see beyond this universe. So how can anybody have eyes that see everything everywhere? Impossible. Therefore, God must not have eyes. Because if he has eyes, he's limited like me. If he has ears, he's limited like the rest of us. So therefore, no eyes, no ears. Because we're people, and as people, so many frustrations, so many limitations. So for God to be unlimited, he can't be a person. He can't have a body. because it's limited to a certain amount of space. Therefore, the scriptures tell that God has no material eyes, and He has no material ears, and He has no material body. But Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna's body, His Vigraha, is Satchidananda. It is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. It's Navayovanam Cha. It's eternally useful. And that one supreme absolute truth, who is Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes, is the origin of everything that exists. One of the most important verses of the Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti batva bhajante mam buddha bhava samantita. If anyone can just understand this one verse, you'll never have to take birth again in this world. Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Everything doesn't mean everything in Bombay. It doesn't mean everything on earth. It means everything that exists everywhere emanates from Krishna. The wise who know this perfectly, he doesn't say, become me. He says, the wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Krishna is the absolute truth, unlimited. And Krishna is Rasaraj. He's the supreme enjoyer. And as the supreme enjoyer, He creates unlimited variegatedness, where He's eternally Ram, and Sri Radharani is eternally Sita, eternally Narayan and Lakshmi, and so many other forms. And they each have their abodes, and they're each exchanging love with their devotees in very unique and special ways. And in each abode there are unlimited devotees. There's no population in Vaikuntha or Goloka. It's not like a material place. I don't know in India so much, but in America, every city or town you go to, it says the name of the town and then it has written the population. Like I remember one sign, it says Deerfield, population 17,000. There's a census. There's no census in the spiritual world. You can't do it. Because there are unlimited living entities. Now how can unlimited living entities live in one place? Much easier than limited living entities could live in this place. This is the meaning of spiritual. Spiritual is transcendent to all limitations, to all iniquities. No birth, no death. Can you imagine a place where no one is born and nobody dies? And nobody grows old? And nobody gets sick? And even though there's unlimited people, it's never crowded? This is not fantasy. The material world that we consider real is a fantasy. because it's a mirror reflection of true reality. So that one supreme absolute truth, Krishna, who has many names and who has many manifestations, for all eternity assumes two forms for the sake of love. And that is Radha Krishna. Srimati Radharani is the feminine aspect of the Absolute Truth, and Krishna is the masculine. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Sri Radhika is the supreme enjoyed. Krishna is the supreme object of love. Sri Radha is the supreme lover. Now, we should not get caught up with our relative conceptions of what sex is about. Because a female and a male in this world, they're not in everyone. They're not all pervading. And they're not the source of everything that exists. But Radharani is, and Krishna is. It's not limiting. Sri Radharani is the Hladini Shakti, the pleasure potency. She's the ultimate source of pleasure for Krishna. And she's the supreme, ultimate source of all love. Where does love come from? Janmadyasya yataha. The Brahma Sutra says, everything emanates from me. That means even our capacity to love God has to come from God. It can't be something independent from God. Our capacity to love God comes from Sri Radha, the reservoir of all love. Her love is infinite, and Krishna's all attractive qualities are infinite. So the love between Radha and Krishna is infinite. It's beyond everything. It is the highest pleasure. Anandamayo Vyashat. The absolute truth is pleasure seeking. And because we are all part and parcel of the absolute truth, we're all pleasure seeking. Everyone's looking for pleasure. But unfortunately, in this world, we don't understand properly. And even if we theoretically understand, we oftentimes just don't take it so seriously. Real pleasure is in love. If you have everything, but nobody loves you, and you don't love anyone, whatever so-called happiness we have in life is very superficial and without substance. Because the heart does not want things. The senses want things. The mind wants things. Sometimes the intelligence is grappling to attain things. But the heart wants love. The heart needs to love. That is the essence within everyone. There's nothing that gives you so much, there's nothing in creation that could give you as much joy as deep love relationship with another. And there is nothing within creation that could cause you more pain than a frustrated love with another. Either betrayal by a loved one, or seeing the suffering of a loved one, or the death of a loved one. There is no pain that can compare. We're pleasure-seeking. And the origin is Krishna's relationship with Radha. Unlimited love and the unlimited attraction to the lover. And the Vedas explain, especially Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami tells how Radharani's love is so deep and so great that the happiness that she experiences in her love for Krishna is even greater than what Krishna experiences. And Krishna is Rasaraj. He's the supreme enjoyer. Krishna, by his own Leela, wants to taste the sweetness of Sri Radha's love. So therefore, the one supreme truth who becomes two for the purpose of ecstatic love, and those two, Radha and Krishna, expand themselves in all the abodes of the spiritual sky, in all the abodes of material existence, everything is emanating from them. The two become one again in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna, who wants to taste the sweetness of Radha's love. Krishna appears with the heart, with the Mahabhav of Srimati Radharani, and takes the beautiful golden complexion of Sri Radharani. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Ane. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descends in this world once every 4,320,000,000 years, comes in the role of a devotee, Radharani, the suprememost devotee, and comes in the association of many, many other devotees who he brings with him from the spiritual world, just to show us how to enter into the eternal loving pastimes of the Supreme Truth by their example. Bhagavad Gita tells, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanardaya sambhavami juge juge. Means I descend into this world to deliver the pious, to annihilate the miscreants, and to reestablish the principles of religion. But actually, the Lord does not have to descend into this world in his original form to do that. As far as establishing the principles of religion, every yuga has a yuga avatar. And every single Kali Yuga, the Yuga Avatar, teaches Harinam Sankirtan. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. That the chanting of the names Hari is the most powerful way in this age of Kali of attaining perfection. Therefore, in every single Kali Yuga, there's a Yuga Avatar that comes to teach the chanting of the holy name and Nam Kirtan. But it's not Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, with the supreme Mahabhav of Srimati Radharani, who comes to taste the sweetness of Radha's love and comes to distribute the love of Vrindavan to everyone. Very, very special. As far as annihilating the miscreants and protecting devotees, so many avatars could do that. Even through material nature, Krishna can do that. Just like Hiranyakashipu was harassing Prahlad. Did the Lord have to descend to protect little Prahlad? As the Paramatma in Hiranyakashipu's heart, all he had to do was just take his chakra and just cut his heart. He's the controller of material nature. He could have just had the sun come down and burn Hiranyakashipu to death. Yes, he could have done so many things without any endeavor at all. Why did he descend as Lord Narsinghadev? To give pleasure to Prahlad. The Lord descends ultimately to give happiness to his devotees and to show the world the happiness between him and his devotees. Now it is so many, many years later, and we're still in rapt attention when we read the beautiful Leela between Prahlad and Narsinghadev. The Lord's love for the devotee and the devotee's love for the Lord. So not only is the Lord giving happiness to Prahlad, but he's showing the world the happiness of bhakti. In this age of Kali, people have such deeply rooted selfish, egoistic propensities. And getting back to our original question, why is it that we see so many times devotees just don't seem to be making advancement? That devotees sometimes are not even as nice and morally exemplary as atheists. Why is that? Lie, cheat, egoistic. The Lord descends to this world to show us what a real devotee is. We always have our free will. That is our constitutional nature, that we have free will. The Shikshastakam is Lord Chaitanya's beautiful 8 prayers that teaches us the consciousness in which we should chant the holy names. If all we had to do is chant, there would have been no need for him to compose these verses and for us to recite them every day. It's for us to aspire to do. Nadanam na janam na sundarim kapitam vajagadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatar bhakti rahoita kitvai. I do not want wealth. I do not want the pleasures of sexual relationships. I do not want fame or followers. I do not even want liberation from suffering. I only want to serve you with no ulterior motives, for your pleasure. And if it is your desire, birth after birth after birth. Do we pray for that? The Lord, not only is He praying like that, but He's teaching us the standard of proper prayer. Trinadapi sunichena taror ibasihishnuna. Amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. To strive to be humble, more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, eager to offer all respect to other and not expect respect for oneself. In this way, one could taste the sweetness of the holy name and chant constantly. Is this our aspiration? Is this what we're striving for? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was asked, why is it a person can be practicing sadhana bhakti and seem to not be making progress? And in his own creative way, he tells the same thing exactly that Lochan Das Thakur is speaking in this song. He told the story of the bride party. Bridegroom. That a man was going to get married, and they were going to the future bride's village for the marriage. And he and his family and his friends, they all boarded a boat at night. The marriage was to start first thing at sunrise the next morning. But they had to go a long distance on the river to reach that place. So they told the boatman, we have to get there before sunrise. He said, no problem, we will get there long before sunrise. So he started rowing the boat. It was night. It must have been a moonless night. They couldn't see anything. But you don't need light when you're on a boat, because especially in those days, there was no traffic jams. It was in India. So he's just rowing and rowing and rowing, and everyone in the boat, they were thinking to be fresh in the morning for the marriage, let us go to sleep and have a good night's rest. They all went to sleep. And then they heard the rooster crow. They woke up and the sun was rising and they were getting all ready to go to the marriage. They looked around and saw they were in the exact same place that they boarded the boat. They started yelling at the boatman, what have you done? You didn't take us anywhere. Did you go to sleep? He said, no, I've been rowing all night long. I didn't go to sleep. I've been rowing. If you're rowing, then how is it that we've gotten nowhere? And somebody saw he forgot to take up the anchor. Because the anchor was there, he stayed in the same place despite all his rowing. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, as long as we cling to our selfish motivations, our separate agenda, then even doing sadhana, we don't really go anywhere. Srila Prabhupada says we will make spiritual advancement if we are sincere. We need to do our sadhana, but we need to do our sadhana, we need to do our seva with sincerity. And what that sincerity means for all practical purposes. Samsadir Haritoshanam. We really want to do it to please Krishna. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado. To please the Guru. To please the Vaishnavas. To please the super soul, the Paramatma within the heart of all living beings. It's not about me. As long as we cling to our conditioned, selfish desires for enjoyment, for prestige, it's like an anchor. And sometimes we see devotees, by practicing bhakti, they get practically supernatural powers. Yes? They all of a sudden become incredible speakers or incredible organizers or incredible artists or incredible kirtan leaders or incredible garland makers, whatever it may be. And they really begin to excel and excel and excel. Even the world may recognize. But simultaneously, it doesn't seem that they're giving up their egos. Even their egos seem to get bigger. And it doesn't seem like they're more kind to people. They're still criticizing others. This tendency to find faults and criticize. So making spiritual advancement, if you practice sadhana, even if the anchor is deep set, we can get all kinds of material benedictions by our devotional service. But we don't really make true progress unless we are sincere. And in Vaishnavism, sincerity means we're really striving to serve, to do our sadhana without selfish material motivations. Whether we're great philosophers or just simple people, are we doing it to please Krishna? Are we doing it to please the devotees? Are we doing it to help others without motivation? So it's very important. And the Lord descends with His devotees to show us what it means to pull up the anchor. And therefore these stories are meant to inspire us. And Mahajano Yena Katasa Panda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the only way to attain love of God is to follow in the footsteps of the great souls. And this is something every great soul has in common. When Srila Prabhupada was on Jaladuta, he was praying, I have no power to speak words to influence these people's hearts in the Western world. I'm helpless, Krishna. Only if you give me the words. Let me be your puppet and dance as you want me to dance. I have no devotion. I have no knowledge. But you've given me the name Bhaktivedanta, one who has knowledge and devotion. It's completely in your hands to fulfill the purport of this name. You're insignificant beggar. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Follow in the footsteps of great souls means to understand and to sincerely strive to follow. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He decided to come into this world out of infinite compassion to personally demonstrate, reveal to the very unfortunate materialistic people of the Kali Yuga the incredible pastimes of Vrindavan. First Krishna came and revealed those pastimes. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us how to realize those pastimes. But first, He sent His elders. And there were so many. And the Lord had them appear in various places. there was a very great devotee of Lord Narayan named Madhukar Mishra, who moved from western provinces to Sylhet, which at that time was Srihata. Now it's in Bangladesh, East Bengal. And he had a son named Upendra Mishra, who was a very, very great devotee of Lord Krishna. Upendra Mishra had 7 sons, of which one of them was Jagannath Mishra. He was such a scholar of the scriptures and such a pure, unalloyed devotee of Lord Krishna. Who was this Jagannath Mishra? In the spiritual world of Goloka, he is Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's eternal father. And the Lord sent him to take birth in this world, to help to orchestrate his appearance. So Nanda Maharaj appeared in Srihata. And because he was such a great scholar, he was given the title Purandar Mishra. He moved to Navadvip to live close to the Ganges. And also Navadvip was the high seat of learning and education at that time. He becomes such a respectable Brahmin. At the same time, from Srihata there was Nilambar Chakravarti. And Yashoda Mai of Goloka took birth as his daughter, Sachi. They also moved from Srihata area to Navadvip. At that time, by the arrangement of Nilambar Chakravarti, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi were married. They lived close to the bank of the Ganga, in the heart of Navadvip, in Sri Mayapur town. In Chattagaon, Brishabhanu, the eternal father of Srimati Radharani, took birth in this world in the form of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And the Lord sent Mukunda Dat and Vasudev Dat to prepare for his arrival. In a place called Navagram, Sri Advaitacharya took birth. In Bhutan, Lord Brahma appeared as Thakur Haridas. Haridas was born in a Malecha family, but it is said that he came in contact with Vaishnavas when he was very young, took initiation, chanted the holy names, and left his home to go to Benapole, where he sat in a lonely little forest and chanted at least 300,000 names, 192 rounds of the Mahamantra every day, without fail. Scholars tell us that Haridas Thakur appeared 35 years before Lord Chaitanya's appearance. In Ekachakra, in Radhadesh, Sri Balaram himself, Nityananda Prabhu, appeared. In this way, everything was being orchestrated. Paramananda Puri appeared in Chikuta, in the south. And the great Madhavendra Puri, who was considered to be the very root of the tree of ecstatic love, made his appearance within this world. Madhavendra Puri was traveling around to various places, but he saw how materialistic and selfish and egoistic people were, and it broke his heart. It didn't break his heart because he was prejudiced, because he hated karmis. It broke his heart because he loved everyone, and he couldn't bear to see how they were wasting their lives. You see, the more selfless and compassionate you are, the more you actually feel for the ignorance of others. But that is a type of ecstasy. Madhavendra Puri had many great disciples, including Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Nityananda Prabhu, Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Puri. Some say Jagannath Mishra, Advaitacharya. But one of his very favorite disciples was Ishvara Puri. It is said that Madhavendra Puri, after traveling around India for many years, going to Vrindavan, establishing the Gopal deity on Govardhan Hill, his wonderful pastimes with Kirchor Gopinath, during his last days in this world, his physical body appeared to be an invalid. And at that time, one of his disciples, Ramchandra Puri, came to his bedside, and he heard his guru crying in the ecstasies of the separation, in the mood of Srimati Radharani toward Krishna. Crying, "My Lord, you are infinitely merciful and kind. Please be kind upon me. You have left Vrindavan and gone to Mathura. In separation from you, what am I supposed to do?" He was crying in this way. It was the highest ecstasy of love and separation. Ramchandra Puri, his own disciple, told him, if you can't find Krishna, meditate on Brahman. Why are you in so much anxiety? He displeased his guru. Madhavendra Puri said, "Get out, I don't want to see your face." And after that, Ramchandra Puri, although he was still a sannyasi, he was still apparently a disciple. He broadcasted himself in that way. Hare. Special effects. What is that? His tendency was to find faults with others. Because he lost the grace of his guru due to his false pride, instead of finding pleasure in seeing the good in others, his pleasure was in criticizing others. During that same time, there was a disciple named Ishwarapuri who with such a grateful heart felt it was the ultimate privilege of his life to clean the urine and stool from his guru's body, because his guru couldn't get up. And when he heard his guru Madhavendra Puri crying in separation, he recognized that this is the highest ecstasy of ecstatic love of God. And for the pleasure of his guru, day and night, Ishwarapuri, while he cleaned him and massaged him and did all menial things for him, although he was a learned sannyasi, he was constantly singing Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's teachings, and Krishna's names to his guru. And Madhavendra Puri was so very pleased that he said, "Bless you, my child. I pray and I bless you to attain unmotivated love for Lord Krishna." And by that blessing for this very simple menial service, it's very incredible, because Ishwarapuri was a great scholar and he was a very, very austere sannyasi. But what made him distinct from all the other great scholars and sannyasi ascetics was how humble and menial he was willing to serve and please his guru. Whether it meant giving lectures to millions of people or cleaning urine and stool, he didn't see a difference. Whatever pleased his guru was his life and soul. That was the character of Ishwarapuri. And therefore Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was to accept him as his spiritual master. All of these divine personalities were in different places, and little by little they all started coming to Navadvip. And Sri Advaitacharya, he had a house in Shantipur. He married a very, very great, noble, pure-hearted lady named Sita Devi. He had a big family. While he was living in Shantipur, he also had a house in Navadvip. And Advaitacharya became the leader of all the Vaishnavas. He was a scholar who was teaching the scriptures, but he was unlike any other teacher in Navadvip, because everyone else was teaching the scriptures from a perspective of how to satisfy your selfish desires, or get some mystical powers, or get liberation from the sufferings of this world. But Sri Advaitacharya, he explained every word of every verse of every scripture there was in its essence of how to attain the ecstatic love of Krishna that is within us. And hardly anyone took him serious, because no one wanted ecstatic love of Krishna. They wanted money. They wanted power. They wanted more children. They wanted better houses. They wanted revenge over their enemies. They wanted the fame of being great. Advaitacharya saw the condition of the world. And even the highest seat of learning in the world, Navadvip, what was the condition? Due to compassion and love for all beings, Sri Advaita was crying. He couldn't be happy with his own ecstatic love for Krishna if he was seeing others without it. Even people who were very, very apparently, materialistically very happy, healthy, beautiful, prosperous, he cried for them. Because he knew it was just a matter of a little time till old age, disease, and death is going to destroy all of that. And even temporarily, their so-called happiness is only distracting them from the real happiness that is within us. The ecstatic love for God. And he saw how even, what to speak of the atheistic people, even the so-called religious people, even the so-called gurus and great philosophers and representatives of scriptures, they were not teaching people how to love God. They were teaching people either how to better enjoy material resources through your religious practice, or annihilate all materialism. Annihilate everything. But to love God. To utilize all the beautiful things in the material and spiritual world as an expression of love of God. That's the highest truth. He didn't see it anywhere. At the same time, Srivas Thakur and his three brothers, Sri Ram, Sripati, Srinidhi, they also came before Lord Chaitanya from Sri Hatha. And they moved to Navadvip. And they would associate with Advaitacharya. There was a small group of devotees. Haridas Thakur came there, Srivas, Advaita, and some others. And they would discuss Krishna and chant the names of Krishna and try to invite other people, but nobody was interested. Sri Advaitacharya was very special. His form of worship was so simple. He knew everything. He could perform the most elaborate yajnas. He could do the most intense forms of meditation. He was the most philosophically astute scholar. But yet, he would worship the Lord by just offering tulsi leaves and Ganges water and chant the holy names. You see, it is not the ritual that helps us to make spiritual advancement, however simple or elaborate it is. It's to the degree we want to purify our own heart and please Krishna through the execution of the ritual. Advaitacharya felt that in this age of Kali, now and to come, only if the Supreme Lord Krishna descends from Goloka Vrindavan to reveal his divine pastimes and teach the chanting of the holy names according to his own compassion, can people reach that destination. And he had absolute faith. If he just offered tulsi leaves and Ganges water while chanting Krishna's names, Krishna would definitely appear. And that's what he did. On the banks of the Ganges, he just offered simple water and simple leaves, something anyone can do, but with such compassion upon all living beings. He was crying for you and me. And he would tell the devotees, 100% without doubt, Krishna's coming. Because because he will answer the prayers of his devotee. And Srivas and his brothers were doing kirtan day and night, trying to invoke Krishna to come to this world. At that time, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi, they had 8 daughters. Each one of them, in their infancy, died. They did special worship of the Lord in their temple, Shalagram, because they wanted a child. Instinctively, it was Krishna in their heart that wanted to take birth, and it was Krishna that was giving them that desire for a child. And Balaram appeared. Just like in Krishna's Leela, before Krishna appeared in the heart of Devaki, first Balaramji did. And he was transferred to Rohini. So our acharyas explain that the 8 daughters represent the 8 coverings of the ego of this material world. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and the ego. These are the 8 material coverings of material creation. First, attachments to these things must be removed. And Balaram, who is the original guru, is the one who prepares our heart for Krishna. When Vishwarupa was born, he was so beautiful and full of all good qualities. They were so happy. But unlike materialistic people who, when they get what they want from God, then they don't do their worship so much anymore, because they don't need Him. They say, thank you. We'll see you next time I need you. Rather, they increase their worship by many times in gratitude for the child that they received. In the year 1485, the month of Magh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was coming, Krishna, with the love of Sri Radha, appeared within the heart of Jagannath Mishra. And from Jagannath Mishra was transferred to the heart of Sachi Devi. It was not in any way the way material children are born. There wasn't physical contact. Jagannath Mishra one day told Sachi Devi, I had a dream. It wasn't exactly a dream, it was a vision, where I saw this infinite light enter into my heart, and then I saw that infinite light enter into your heart. And Sachi Devi said, I had the same dream. And soon after that, they realized she was pregnant. And after that pregnancy, incredible things started happening. First of all, they were so happy. They didn't know why they were so happy. They were in ecstasy 24 hours a day, both Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra. And people kept doing things for them. giving them gifts, giving them cloth. Sachi Devi one day told Jagannath Mishra that last night, I don't know, but I was seeing all these celestial beings offering obeisances to the child in my womb. I was seeing celestial beings offering prayers of worship to the child. They understood it was not an ordinary person that had taken shelter within her womb. They eagerly awaited. 13 months passed and the child remained in the womb. So they started to get worried. Because 13 months is a long time. So they consulted Nilambar Chakravarti Thakur, the father of Sachi Devi, who was one of the greatest astrologers and seers of the truth and the future in the whole world. And Nilambar Chakravarti, he did a reading and he told the mother and father that this child is a divine being and this child is waiting for the supremely most auspicious time to be born. It was in the year 1486, during the month of Palgun. It was a full moon night. And it was also a time of a lunar eclipse. Now in India, traditionally an eclipse is considered extremely inauspicious. When Rahu covers the moon. Some people say that, anything that's cooked at that time is impure and everything's impure. In those days, people were very superstitious. And if they weren't superstitious, they took ritualistically, very seriously, all these auspicious and inauspicious things. So, in order to counteract the inauspiciousness of an eclipse, the recommended process was to chant the names of Hari, in the river Ganges especially, to not get contaminated and not have your material life disturbed. So millions of people were chanting the names of Hari. And during that time, Srivas and his brothers, they saw nobody ever chants Krishna's names. They would chant some demigods or goddesses' names for material benefits from time to time, but nobody ever was chanting Krishna's names. But now everyone is chanting. Srivas said, let this eclipse last forever. And both the Hindus and the Muslim people, they saw millions and millions of Hindus chanting Hari, Hari, and it was so contagious, they all started imitating him, going Hari, Hari. Everyone in all directions was crying out Hari, Hari. Hari! And that was the most auspicious time. Very interesting. Sometimes what is most auspicious is most auspicious. Because sometimes what is most auspicious brings people to really take shelter of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya was coming to teach pure love of God through the chanting of the holy names. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said that Lord Chaitanya, he made a garland, a mala, with the flowers of Krishna's names and Krishna Prem, love of Krishna. And with his own loving hands, he put that garland around the whole world. So when millions and millions and millions of people were filling the entire land with the loud chanting of the holy names, the Lord appeared. And he didn't cry. He smiled. Do you ever see a baby like this? He came out of the womb of his mother and he smiled because he heard everyone chanting the names of the Lord. He was so happy. And as soon as they saw this little baby with a golden complexion and lovely lotus-like eyes, whoever saw him fell in love with him. Uncontrollable love poured from their hearts toward this little baby. And when all the devotees heard about this, they all wanted to come and do their pujas and offer their prayers and their blessings to the child. Advaita was in Shantipur, and he sent his wife Sita on a palanquin. And when she saw little baby Nimai, she was thinking that the same Krishna of Gokul has appeared with a golden complexion. And Malini, the wife of Srivas, and Srivas himself came. When the Lord was born, even though nobody even knew he was the Lord, the devotees became so happy. Advaita Prabhu and Haridas Thakur were in Shantipur. All of a sudden, they started crying in ecstasy, leaping and dancing with each other. And people were wondering, have they gone crazy? They did. For Krishna. Because they could understand something supremely auspicious is happening. This way all of the devotees from all these different directions came spontaneously to offer their prayers and blessings for little baby. Nilambar Chakravarti, he did the astrology. He said, this is a divine being who has the power to deliver the whole world. He's going to nourish the hearts of everyone. And then one Brahmin came. And this Brahmin, he explained how this child is Lord Narayan himself, who has descended from the spiritual world. He will embody all spiritual transcendental qualities. He will cause the whole world to chant the holy names. He will deliver from the cycle of birth and death anyone who takes shelter of him. He will give supreme pleasure to anyone who accepts the gift that he has to offer. And then, through his astrology, he saw when this child is 24 years old, he's going to take sannyas. But he decided not to say that part, because he didn't want to mix the happiness with something else. And when Jagannath Mishra heard what this Brahmin was saying, he was so happy. He wanted to give him charity, but he had nothing to give. He was just a simple Brahmin. So Jagannath Mishra, whatever he had, he was giving to everyone who was blessing his son. And he fell at the feet of this Brahmin and cried, offering his thanks. Little Nimai, there was a name-giving ceremony. The ladies, Sachi Devi and her friends, they named him Nimai because he was born under a neem tree. And Nilambar Chakravarti had the Brahma named him Vishwambar because he was going to give nourishment to the universe. And Jagannath Mishra and others, because he had beautiful golden limbs, they named him Gauranga. And other people, because he was the beloved son of Sachi, they called him Sachinandana. Little Nimai, for 1 month, according to tradition, was in a little hut near the Ganges with Sachi Devi and the family. And the little boy, he captivated everyone's hearts in such a way that their life and soul was only to make him happy. And the greatest suffering in their life was to see him cry. A little Nimai would start to cry. It was unbearable because they loved him so much. They would do anything and everything for him, but nothing would stop his crying until, when there's nothing else you can do, you call out for God. They all chanted the holy names. And as they chanted, little Nimai, he smiled. This beaming smile that totally drowned them in ecstasy. And Nimai would cry again a few minutes later, and they knew exactly what they had to do. They'd clap their hands and chant, and Nimai would smile. Sometimes he would laugh. This little infant baby would laugh and laugh and laugh and smile and raise his arms. It brought them such satisfaction. And sometimes they were scared because they knew that 8 of Sachi Devi's children had died. They were afraid for his health. The Lord inspired them with this fear just to get them to stay with him and chant, practically day and night. The family members, the friends, the devotees were gathered around the little baby, clapping their hands and singing the holy names of the Lord. After 1 month, Sachi Devi performed the ritual of going to the Ganges to take her bath with little Nimai and do puja for Shashti, who is a demigoddess, who is supposed to protect baby children. And she did all these pujas and rituals. And then she entered into the house of the family. Now one may ask, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi are crest jewel of self-realized yogis. Why were they doing these rituals, which are usually done by very superstitious people? Yes? Even in Yashoda and Nanda, we read about when Krishna, after Trinavarta came, and they saw Krishna laying there, after Putana, they would put cow dung in different places of his body, and they would whisk cow tails around Krishna and do all kinds of rituals, which seems quite superstitious, doesn't it? Why? In India, there's so many superstitious people. Srila Prabhupada said that his mother used to take saliva and put it on his forehead every day, her own. He said, I never knew, to this day, I don't know why she did it. But it was for his protection. Some Bengali tradition to protect a baby or a small child. So there's superstitions everywhere. But in my travels in the world, India is very advanced in this particular field. And here these great Paramahamsa devotees are doing superstitious things. They're worshipping Chandi and doing this little ritual and that little ritual and another, just to protect the baby. So one may ask, why? It seems like it's very ordinary. But what we must understand is they were doing it out of love for Krishna, out of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, it really doesn't matter whether you do something that's mathematically, scientifically astute. Doesn't matter whether you're doing something that's logically proven by all the previous acharyas, or whether you're doing a superstitious ritual. What matters is our motivation. That's the essence of what the great acharyas are teaching us. So because they were doing it pure love for God, their little superstitious things of Nanda and Yashoda or Sachi Devi was the highest expression of pure devotional service. Because Krishna's bhavagrahi. He sees our sincerity. Therefore, when even the greatest philosophers, the greatest spiritual scientists, the most logical and advanced yogis and saints, when they hear about these little rituals of Sachimata, they cry in ecstasy. Why? Because they see, they know. It's done with pure love. Advaitacharya, just some leaves and water, tulsi leaves. But it was the highest ritual. It was the highest offering of love. So we must understand this very carefully, especially here in India. The essence is bhakti. Bhakti is based on knowledge. Knowledge that the jiva, that the soul within all of us is eternal. Jivera swarupoi krishnera nityadas, and the nature of the soul is eternally the servant of Krishna. And the fulfillment of servant is service with love. So with this philosophical understanding, which is the very essence of service with true love, without selfish motivation, for the pleasure of the Lord, even if it is in the shape of an apparent ritual or a superstition, it's pleasing to Krishna. That doesn't mean we should start doing superstitious stuff. It means we should focus, whatever we do, should be done with this philosophical knowledge of love of God. Otherwise we're not following in the footsteps of the acharyas. And then, when we hear about Sachi Devi's different ways of protecting the Lord, we understand this is the goal of life. One time, when little Nimai was just crawling, he learned to crawl. This is wonderful. Krishna tells in Gita, I'm the ability in man, the strength of the strong, the intelligence of the intelligent. And we see so many people climbing mountains. And we see demigods flying in the sky. So many people, and they're all getting their powers from Krishna. And here Krishna is learning how to crawl. And he actually learned really fast. And he crawled really fast. He was crawling around, and Mother Sachi and all of her friends, it was really hard to keep up with little Nimai crawling around all over the place. He was very curious. And one day, there was a gigantic, monstrous snake in the courtyard of Sachi Devi's house. And little Nimai saw this big snake and crawled really fast right up to the snake and grabbed the snake's tail. And the snake couldn't get away. So the snake coiled up in a circle, and little Nimai laid on top of the coiled serpent. He was smiling and laughing. He was laughing quite loud for a little child. So they were wondering, where's Nimai? Where's Nimai? They heard his laughing, so they came running, and they saw this giant snake. And he's laying in the coils. They were horrified. What to do? If we bother this snake, he may bite Nimai and kill him, or he may strangle him by coiling around his body and squeezing. They were beside themselves. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what they couldn't do. Little Nimai was smiling, laughing, and they were crying and crying and crying. Our child is going to be killed by the snake. They started crying, Garuda, Garuda! Because Garuda is the killer of snakes. They couldn't get close because they were afraid if they did, they would waken the snake and the snake would kill the child. At the same time, they were just besides themselves in total anxiety of love. And the snake, who actually happened to be a Nantashesha, who wanted to see the Lord and do some seva, when he saw all the anguish he was causing the relatives, the snake uncoiled and started to slither away. And little Nimai tried to grab him again. Meanwhile, the relatives, as soon as they saw there was just inches away from the snake's tail Nimai was trying to follow him, they picked him up and took him away. And as soon as they put him down, he started crawling full speed toward the snake again. And they had to pick him up again, and he started crawling. In this way, little Nimai put them in such fear. Now let's evaluate this, because we're kind of in a philosophical mode. Why were they in such fear? Because these are self-realized souls. These are great devotees. And the Jivatma is beyond death. Najayate mriyate vakadachyat. Krishna says the soul is never born and never dies. So that snake couldn't kill this child, couldn't kill the soul. So why were they so attached to the body of this child? Hare Krishna. Because on the spiritual platform, the intersection of spirituality, transcendence with this material world is fascinating. that the Lord utilizes the vulnerabilities of material nature to increase the ecstasies of the love of His devotees. They were so totally saturated in their motherly love for the Lord, to protect the Lord, they were afraid. Now, Bhagavad Gita tells us one of the first qualities of a self-realized soul is they're fearless. Abhaya charanaravindare. When you take shelter of the Lord, you become fearless. Because you realize there is no birth and there is no death for your soul or for anyone else's soul. So what's the reason to fear? Yet, Yashoda, Nanda, and these forms of Jagannath Mishra, Sachi, and all these great devotees, they were totally engulfed in fear. But it wasn't material fear. They were in a state of total fearlessness because they had no material attachments. Their attachment was for God, even though they didn't know He was God. If Lord Chaitanya would have revealed to himself to be God to them, they couldn't love Him as a child. Not spontaneously. They had already realized God in full. Therefore, the Lord appeared in such a way to increase the intimacy of their relationship, where their parental affection eclipsed their knowledge of His supremacy, to facilitate deeper feelings of affection. The Nectar of Devotion, or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explains that there are apparently material impetuses that increase the ecstasy of love. And one is fear. It has nothing to do with material selfish ignorance. Just like the deity is Radha and Krishna. And naturally, we read about the Goswamis and their descendants in Vrindavan. How when conquerors were coming to destroy temples and destroy deities, they could have just said, well, Krishna's supreme and He's unconquerable, so let the deity be there, no problem. What can they do? Even if they break Him, they can't break Krishna. No, they went through so many difficulties. Some of them gave their lives to secretly take the deity away. Srinathji or Gopal, the pujari, who was a pure devotee, hid him in the bushes and ran away, so that the deity wouldn't be hurt. Govinda Dev, Madan Mohan, Gopinath, they were brought to Jaipur for protection. So to fear for Krishna, that fear increases the ecstasy of our love for Krishna. It's higher than being fearless. In fact, it's a state beyond being fearless, is to be afraid for God. Not afraid of God, but afraid for God. And Vrindavan Das Thakur explains, anyone who with faith and devotion hears this story of little Nimai going to sleep on the snake will never be struck by the snake of birth and death. One time, little Nimai was roaming around. By this time he was just learning to walk. And some thieves happened to see the nice ornaments that his mother put on him. They thought, this is really easy. He's just a little tiny child, just learning to walk. We'll pick him up, take him to our hideout, take all the jewels, and then let him go. So there was crowds around Navadvip. So they very inconspicuously, they went up to the child and say, "Oh, little child," so that nobody would see that they were kidnapping him. They said, "Oh, little child, we can see that you're lost. We'll help you find your way home. Please come, get on my shoulders. We know how to bring you home." And then they had nice sandesh. And they kept putting it in his hand, and he kept eating them. He was very happy. He was riding on their shoulders. And they were and every now and then they said, "We're bringing you home, little child," so all the people around would think that they were nice people. But actually they were malicious. They were robbers. And Nimai was just having a really nice ride. He was having fun, eating sandesh, sweets. And they came to their hideout where they lived. They said, they put little Nimai down, and as soon as they did, they realized they were at Nimai's house. Now this took some time. In the meanwhile, all the family of Nimai was looking everywhere for the child, and they couldn't find him. They were asking everyone, and nobody knew where he was. Again, fear. A little baby, he's just learning to walk, and he's gone. They were looking in every direction. They couldn't find him anywhere. There was nowhere else to look. It was desperate, hopeless. They were all sitting in the front of the house with their hands in their heads in total anguish. Where is Nimai? And all of a sudden, these two men show up with Nimai in their shoulders, and they didn't see him. But they put Nimai down. They said, "Where are I?" And Nimai ran. He cried out and ran right into the arms of Jagannath Mishra. And all the relatives started cheering and cheering and cheering. The boy has come. They were the thieves. "We thought this was our hideout. We traveled such a long distance only to come right back to the house where we kidnapped him from. What happened?" So they kind of looked around like they were just passers-by. And then when nobody was looking, they ran away as fast as they could. They kept running. They wouldn't stop. They ran and ran and ran until nobody else was around. And then they embraced each other and said, "We almost got caught today. It's only by the grace of Goddess Chandi that we escaped." They asked Nimai, "What happened?" And he said, "Oh, I got lost, and two really nice men, they came and brought me home. They wanted to give rewards to the men. They made a nice turban to come out to give to them, but they couldn't find." So in this beautiful little pastime, we find that even though these people were thieves, the Lord was so kind, He allowed them to serve Him. They made Him happy. And certainly, they were going to be liberated. One day, and it's getting late, so perhaps I should end with this story. One day, a Brahmin who was traveling to all the various holy places came to the house of Jagannath Mishra. This particular Brahmin, he was a very pure-hearted devotee of Gopal Krishna. His only two possessions was a Shalagram Shila and a deity of Gopal. And the temple was his own body. He had them hanging around his neck. And he, day and night, always chanted the names of Gopal. He had a Gopal mantra that he was reciting constantly. He practically never spoke anything else except the names of Krishna. And he always had tears of ecstatic love in his eyes. And whatever food he had, he would prepare and offer it to Gopal, and would never, ever, ever eat anything that he didn't personally offer to his Gopal in his shalagram. In this way, he went from place to place. He came to the door of Jagannath Mishra. When Jagannath Mishra saw this devotee, he had such effulgence. He emanated such love, compassion, and light that Jagannath Mishra understood this is a saint. And he fell down and clasped the feet of this pilgrim and invited him into his house, washed his feet, gave him a sitting place, and said, "We are so fortunate. Where do you live?" And the pilgrim said, "I have no home. I just travel around from place to place with my Gopal." And Jagannath Mishra said, "Wherever you go, you make that into a holy place. And we are so fortunate today, my family can serve you. Let us arrange for you to cook for Krishna." So he said, "Fine." So Jagannath Mishra cleaned the area, and this Brahmin would only eat what he personally cooked for Gopal. So he made a nice offering of rice and sabjis. And he sat down after the preparation and put the offering before his deities, and then chanted a mantra for Gopal to accept his loving offering. And as he was calling Gopal, little Nimai appeared before him, and with his tiny little lotus-like hand picked up a clump of the rice and put it in his mouth, was smiling very brightly and chewing on it. When the Brahmin saw this, nothing like this ever happened before. He was shocked. He cried out, "Hi, hi! Hi! My offering has been spoiled by this child." Jagannath Mishra saw little Nimai just handful after handful of rice, eating it right in front of the deity, and this Brahmin was just shocked. Jagannath Mishra picked up a stick and came running. "I'll teach you, my child. You can't do this to my guests." And little Nimai ran away. And the Brahmin, he grabbed hold of Jagannath Mishra. He said, "The child is innocent. He doesn't know right from wrong. It's not his fault. It's my destiny. It's my karma. Don't you understand? It's not written in my destiny that I'm meant to eat nice cooked rice today. It's very seldom I get cooked rice anyway. Just usually I only get fruits and roots. So just bring me some fruits and roots and I'll be happy." Jagannath Mishra said, "No, please cook again. We'll clean everything up. We'll bring new bhoga and prepare again." He said, "I've already tried. Krishna doesn't want me to eat today." Jagannath Mishra fell at his feet, clasped to his feet, crying, "Please cook again. If you leave our house without eating a good meal, it will be a disgrace to our whole family." And then all the family members fell at his feet and begged him. He said, "All right." And everyone was very happy. He started cooking. And Jagannath Mishra said to some neighborly ladies and family, said, "Take this restless Nimai out of the house and keep him with you." So they took him. And the pilgrim was cooking nice prasad. And when it was done, he put the offering before Gopal. And meanwhile, these ladies, they were playing with Nimai. They loved him more than their life. They said, Nimai, you don't know who this person is, you don't know where he's coming from, and yet you're eating food that he cooked. Don't you know that you could lose your caste by doing this? Nimai said, I'm a cowherd boy. I always eat food cooked by Brahmins. And they smiled, and they didn't know what he was talking about. And they were telling him stories, and he was entertaining them by dancing and singing and smiling, and he got them so totally mesmerized in the network of his personality that he slipped away, and they didn't even notice he was gone. He went direct to the Brahmin, who was sitting with his hands folded, chanting the Gopal mantra, Gopal, please come accept my loving offering. And then he heard some chewing. He opened his eyes, and there was little Nimai with a handful of rice in his mouth, smiling, glancing upon the Brahmin. This was too much. He cried out, Hi, again this child has spoiled my offering. Jagannath Mishra came running with a stick, and Nimai ran into another room and closed the door. Jagannath Mishra said, come out from here. I'm going to give you a thrashing today. I'm not going to allow you to make a fool of me and our whole family by your restless, mischievous activities. I must teach you. And the Brahmin was saying, no, he doesn't know. He's just a little boy. It's not his fault. You can only punish someone when they do something that they know is wrong, but he's too young to know right or wrong. Can't you see? Isn't it clear to you? It is not my destiny to eat nice rice. Just give me some fruits and roots. Jagannath Mishra said, you must eat. We'll clean up the kitchen and we'll bring you new bhoga and you could cook again. He said, it's already the middle of the night. I'm not going to cook again. And Jagannath Mishra, with his hand, he sat down with his head in his hands, feeling himself so unfortunate that a saintly guest came and his guest was not treated properly in his own home. At that time, the elder brother of Lord Chaitanya, Vishwarup, appeared. He was so beautiful, so cultured, so well-mannered. As soon as the pilgrim Brahmin saw Vishwarup, he gazed upon him. And he asked, who is this? Whose son could this be? Who is the fortunate mother and father? You are the son of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi. How fortunate your house is that you have a son like this. Vishwarup bowed down. And he said to the Brahmin, we are so fortunate that such a saintly person as you has made our home into a holy place by coming. But we are so unfortunate that you didn't get to eat our rice. Please, cook again. He said, it's already late at night, and I've already tried twice, and I didn't get any rice. I can only eat what's offered to Gopal, and if a child eats it first, I can't offer it to Gopal. Vishwarup fell and clasped the feet of the Brahmin and begged him, please, it's not so late, cook again. And everybody gathered around him, bowing down, saying, please cook again. He said, all right. He started cooking. Jagannath Mishra asked, "Where is Nimai?" They said, "He's in the room and he's sound asleep. He is so asleep he doesn't even know anything in the world is happening. So there's no problem." Jagannath Mishra said, "Guard his bed, make sure he's asleep." And then Jagannath Mishra, from the outside of that door, he bolted it so no one could get in and out. And he stood in front of the door with a stick to guard it. Very, very tight security. Now it's the middle of the night. He finished his cooking. He put the food in front of his deity of Gopal, folded his palms, and chanted the Gopal mantra, begging Gopal to accept the offering. Just at that time, the Lord sent Nidra Devi, the goddess of sleep. She entered the house and everyone fell fast asleep except the Brahmin and Nimai, who came before the Brahmin and picked up a handful of rice and ate it. The Brahmin looked and saw this little boy gazing right into his eyes with a beautiful smile on his face, eating the rice. "Hi, hi! Again the child has spoiled my offering." But this time nobody heard him because they were sleeping. And then Nimai spoke. He said, "Oh Brahman, what is my fault? You're calling me to come and eat, and I'm eating, and now you're becoming so upset. You're calling my name, you're calling my mantra, you're offering it to me, and because you're offering it with such love, I cannot resist coming. I cannot restrain myself from coming to accept the love of your offering. Can't you see? I am the Gopal who you have dedicated your life to serve and to please." And then the Lord manifested a beautiful form. He manifested the form of Krishna, who had a complexion like a newly formed monsoon rain cloud. Beautiful, beautiful lotus-like eyes. On his head there was a string, a gunja mala, a string of gunja seeds. And on the top of that was a peacock feather. There was the Kaustubha mani upon his chest and the Vajayanti mala, a garland extending below his knees. He had a dhoti that was like the flashing yellow of lightning. This beautiful form of the Lord had 8 arms. 4 were holding the conch shell, lotus flower, a club, and the Sudarshan chakra disc. One hand was holding a pot of butter, and the other hand was eating it. And 2 hands were playing the flute. He saw behind the Lord there was a whole forest of kadamba trees. He saw the entire Vrindavan Dham manifested. And there were cows, gopas, gopis, Govardhan, Yamuna. Everything he meditated upon in the core of his heart, his whole life, was now physically being seen before him. The Supreme Lord, Gopal, his lovable object, and the land of Vrindavan. Seeing this, he fell unconscious in ecstatic love. And then the Lord touched him And that touch thrilled him like an electrical current of ecstasy, and he woke up. And again he saw this beautiful form. And then Lord Chaitanya spoke to him. He said, "You are my servant, birth after birth after birth. You do not remember, but I remember. In my last incarnation of Krishna, when I was a baby, this same age, you came to Gokul Mahavan, to the house of Nanda Maharaj, as a pilgrim Brahmin. And I stole your rice and ate it then too, and revealed to you who I really am." He said, "I have descended into this world with the greatest of all gifts, the gift of ecstatic love for God, Krishna Prema. And I have come to give this gift through propagating the Harinam Sankirtan movement throughout the world. People will realize the sweetest, highest of all goals of life through this chanting of my holy names. I order you to give me the promise that you will not tell anyone what you have seen." The reason he made him give this promise is because if Jagannath Mishra and the other devotees understood that their son was God, they would not have the same spontaneous freedom of loving exchanges. The Brahman promised. And the Lord said, "You could stay here in Mayapur and you could watch my pastimes." And then that beautiful form became little baby or little child Nimai again. And he disappeared back into his room and laid in bed and went to sleep. The Brahmin was in such spiritual trance. He started crying out, "Jai Gopal, Jai Gopal, Jai Gopal, Jai Gopal." And he was in such a trance of ecstatic love, he took the rice that Gopal had eaten and he started eating it, and he became so mad with love of God, he was smearing it on every limb of his body, chanting Jai Gopal. And all the family members of Nimai woke up. And they all came running, and they saw this Brahmin with rice all over his body. And as soon as he saw them, he became very composed and sat down and was eating. He said, the offering went well, and I'm now honoring Krishna. They were very happy. In his mind, in his heart, he was thinking, I have to tell them the supreme absolute truth. The son of Nanda and Yashoda, Krishna, is living in their house. If they understand that, they'll attain the ultimate perfection of life. But I can't tell them because I promised I wouldn't. That pilgrim Brahmin, he remained in Navadvip. And every day or so he would come to beg at the house of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi. And while he was there, he would, in great prema, bhava, he would watch the pastimes of little Nimai. But he never told anyone. This beautiful story shows the beauty of bhakti. Yayatamam prapadyante thams tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vart manuvartanti manushya parata sarvasha. As we surrender with love to the Lord reciprocates. And it is this spontaneous love that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the world to give. from the day of his birth to his most innocent little childhood pastimes. And it culminated years later when he established the Harinam Sankirtan movement. And empowered such great souls as Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and a whole parampara of great souls to be instruments of his compassion. And on this day of Sri Gaur Purnima, with very deep gratitude in our hearts, we thank His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Prabhupada, for giving us this gift, the gift that the Lord had brought to this world in its purest state. When we see what is really the qualities of a Vaishnava, no envy, no pride, no selfishness, which is exhibited by the Lord and His own devotees, then following in those footsteps sincerely, we can actually understand the Lord's appearance in this world. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deham punara janma naiti mameti sorjana. Krishna tells in Gita, one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities in this world never takes birth again in this material world, but attains my supreme abode. What does it really mean to understand? It means to understand through the lives of the great souls. Thank you very much. Now we will sing one beautiful prayer by Vasu Ghosh,